What do Breece Hall and Braelon Allen bring to the Jets' backfield? Well, we're going to examine their profiles, what we've seen in terms of their snap shares, rush shares, and target shares on a weekly basis from weeks 1 to 3, and then break down what we see from them on film and how they cohesively make the Jets' run game and receiving game dangerous. Breece Hall is 5'11", 217 pounds, which gives him a 30.3 BMI, which is above the 30.0 threshold generally for running backs to be utilized as a bell cow, and until this season, he had been utilized as a bell cow. He was picked 4th overall in the second round of the 2022 NFL Draft, and he's 23 years and 3 months old currently, so still really, really young. When we look at his athletic profile, it resembles that of Jonathan Taylor. His 4.39 40-yard dash is 97th percentile in and of itself, but because he's running a 4.39 at 5'11", 217 pounds, that gives him a 116.9 speed score, which is 98th percentile. Then when we look at his burst score, which is his broad and vertical jump, his 131 score ranks in the 94th percentile. So this guy is not only an elite athlete, he's an elite athlete even by NFL standards. When we look at how Breece Hall has been utilized, while his snap share has decreased from 82% down to 71% from weeks 1 to 3, he's still heavily featured in the run game, finishing with no less than 14 rush attempts with a maximum of 16 in both weeks 1 and 3. But then he's also received no less than 5 targets in any one of these 3 games. And so while he may not be a workhorse, he is still receiving massive amounts of volume in what should be a potent offense this season. When we look at Braelon Allen's profile, he's 6'1", 235 pounds. That gives him a 31.0 BMI, which is well above the 30.0 threshold to be a bell cow back. And so that means that both he and Breece Hall have the physical build necessary to be bell cow backs. Now, he received 4th round, 34th overall draft capital this season. And so while he isn't and wasn't as highly touted of a back, he is still a very good running back. I mean, this man is only 20 years and 6 months old as a rookie in the NFL. He was dominating at Wisconsin as a 17-year-old freshman. Think about that. When we look at his athletic profile, it isn't quite as elite as Breece Hall's, but it's still an incredibly good profile when you consider his size. His 4.51 40-yard dash is 75th percentile, but because he's a massive human being at 6'1", 235 pounds with a 31.0 BMI, that gives him a 113.6 speed score, which is still 95th percentile. Now, his burst score of 112.9 is only 23rd percentile, so he isn't a bursty athlete. What this profile indicates to us is he's not the sudden, shifty athlete that Breece Hall is, but he is a load to tackle, and when he gets going, he gets rumbling. Think about Derrick Henry in the open field. You don't want to be the last line of defense. You don't want to be the one safety that has to make a one-on-one tackle on this guy. And so while we haven't seen one of these long runs from Braelon Allen yet, we are going to see the same thing from him if he's able to get to the second level. When we look at his utilization, he only received an 18% snap share in week 1, but that went up to 35% in week 2, and then did go down to 32% in week 3. But that means that, assuming you take out week 1 because it was his first NFL game, that he's receiving about a third of the snaps. However, while his snap share didn't increase from week 2 to 3, when we look at his rushing production, in week 1 he only received 1 carry for 8 yards. Well, then that ramped up to 7 for 33 and a touchdown in week 2, before going to 11 for 55 with 0 touchdowns in week 3. And when we look at his receiving work, he went from 1 target with 1 reception for 9 yards to 4 targets with 2 receptions for 23 yards and a touchdown in week 2, and finally 3 receptions for 13 yards on 3 targets in week 3. And now, to give you a better visual representation of what we saw from both of them in week 3, at the top of your screen are the rushing statistics from the Jets in week 3. At the bottom left are the receiving statistics from them as a team, and at the bottom right of your screen are side-by-side comparisons of Breece Hall and Braelon Allen's snap percentage, rush percentage, and target share week by week, so you can get a visual representation week by week as to how this backfield is showing itself. Braelon Allen did lead the backfield with 11 carries for 55 yards versus Breece Hall's 16 for 54. Now, Breece Hall did get the touchdown. I will say, though, It is slightly misleading. Breece Hall had 2 runs where he lost a ton of yardage because his tight end didn't block for him, and so he was met in the backfield immediately. However, to Braelon Allen's credit, that also happened to him, but because he's such a massive human being, he was able to shrug off the defender and get back to the line of scrimmage for no gain, or might have been a gain of 1, but regardless of that, that is something that Braelon Allen brings to the table that Breece Hall somewhat does, but not to the same level, to be fair, that Braelon Allen does. When we look at their receiving work in week 3, Breece Hall was a lot more efficient in the receiving game, so that kind of evened itself out between him and Braelon Allen. Breece Hall finished with 5 targets, 4 receptions for 29 yards, and Braelon Allen finished with 3 targets, 3 receptions, and 13 yards. Now, getting to their side-by-side comparisons. In week 1, Breece Hall easily led this backfield with an 82% snap share. However, to Braelon Allen's credit, he was easily the RB2. He finished with an 18% snap share. And in that game, Breece Hall had an 84.21% rush share to Braelon Allen's 5.26. And the target share was also Breece Hall's with 20.69% to Braelon Allen's 3.45. However, in week 2, Braelon Allen took a huge step up. When we look at Hall in week 2, he had a 72% snap share to Braelon Allen's 35%. So that's very impressive for Braelon Allen. Then when we look at their rush share, Breece Hall had a 58.33% to Braelon Allen's 29.17%. But even more impressively, if you look at Braelon Allen, yes, Breece Hall had a 27.59% target share in week 2, but look at Braelon Allen. He more than doubled his receiving totals as well, finishing with a 13.79% target share in week 2. Both of these backs were incredibly efficient in week 2. Now, when we look at week 3, Breece Hall went from a 72% to a 71% snap share, and Braelon Allen did go down from a 35 to a 32%, but that's just the raw snap shares. When we look at the rush shares, Breece Hall had a 48.48% rush share to Braelon Allen's 33.33%. And so while, yes, his total snap share did go down, his rush share went from 29.17% up to 33.3%, or a third of the total carries. When we look at their target shares, though, while yes, 14.71% was lower for Breece Hall and 8.82% was lower for Braelon Allen, when we look at the percentages side by side, 14.71% to 8.82% is still very impressive for Braelon Allen. What this indicates to us is that, yes, Breece Hall is the lead in the backfield, and in my opinion, deservedly so, because I do think he's more talented. Braelon Allen is incredibly talented, and I'm going to show you why these backs really complement each other extremely well. All right, so this first play, the fullback here is really a tight end, and this is one of the few times that their tight end actually made a block. Now, to the offensive line's credit, they open up a massive hole between the right guard and the center here. Braelon Allen, to his credit, uses his vision and picks correctly. Now, as a defender against Braelon Allen, you really do want to go low. However, the defender here goes too low, and so Braelon Allen just shrugs him right off and then lunges forward for a first down with a defender on his back. This guy is a massive human being, and you do not want to have to tackle this guy. And the Patriots were not interested last night. All right, so this is an example of the tight end that I was talking about missing a block. Now, because he missed his block, Braelon Allen is met in the backfield, say 4 yards from the line of scrimmage. However, he just says no thank you, shoves the defender to the ground, trucks right past him, gets back to the line of scrimmage. He might have even gained a yard here. Overall, a very impressive display of power and toughness. This guy is a massive human being once again, and you do not want to have to make a one-on-one tackle against this guy. Yikes. All right, so if you were asking yourself, yeah, he's a powerful runner, but how does this translate to the receiving game? Oh, it does. You'll notice here that he is met with the defender immediately. He trucks the living crap out of him and is able to lunge forward for a couple extra yards here on a screen pass. Now, it was one blocker really for 3 defenders, and so it was definitely not the most advantageous situation, but he made the absolute most of that. Overall, his game absolutely fits into this Jets offense, and it brings an extra level of toughness that while Breece Hall is a tough player, he is just not big enough to bring this level of toughness to the Jets offense. And so, in summation, Braelon Allen is not the most shifty or get off the go type of running back, but he is a massive load to tackle and brings such a massive power component to this run game and receiving game that he is a very useful running back whose skills are well suited for this Jets offense. All right, so before we get to what Breece Hall brings to this offense, if you haven't liked and subscribed yet, please do so if you like what you're seeing so far. I love doing these player breakdowns and how players' skills are utilized in their offenses and what they bring to the team. I think these are a lot of fun, and I hope you do as well. Please like and subscribe. Thanks. All right, so on this play, we see Breece Hall in action. So he is running between the right guard and the center. The right guard on this play helps chip the defender in which the center is blocking before getting to the second level of the defense. Breece Hall follows his right guard and then hits the Patriots defense with a nasty spin move and is able to get the first down. Breece Hall brings the finesse to this run game and the explosion on a per play basis. All right, so here the Jets are running a design screen to Breece Hall. He's in the flat. Now Aaron Rodgers sails the pass just a little bit, but Breece Hall manages to snag it with one hand. Then he's able to square up the defender and get additional yardage. He is a little bit short on the first down. Now, this play was called back, but the point of this was to show you that he has amazing hands. We've seen multiple one-hand grabs throughout his short career, and this is just part of what he brings to the table. He's not only elusive after the catch, he is a good quality receiving back. All right, so here the Jets run a PA fake. Now he hits Breece Hall, who turns it right back upfield towards the middle of the field, and he's able to manage to pick up a first down. Yards after catch is yet another skill that Breece Hall possesses. He is a dynamic receiving back. All right, so some running backs are, you can catch a pass, you can run a couple minimal routes. Breece Hall can be deployed on the outside. He can be used in the slot. We don't really see that too often with him, but he is a passing game weapon. There are a couple of running backs, like, say, Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, that are better receiving backs, in my opinion. But Breece Hall is very underrated in this regard, and I don't think he gets enough credit. All right, so another thing is Breece Hall has a nose for the end zone, but he's also pretty powerful. All right, so he breaks a tackle here, and he starts to spin into the end zone. And so it's a nice combination of his power, but also his athleticism here. He spins into the end zone and manages to keep his knee off the ground and stretch the ball over the goal line. They originally called it short, and I was screaming at my TV that he was across the plane. And finally, the refs agreed with that. As a fantasy owner of Breece Hall, for instance, I was pretty annoyed with that at first. I thought he got screwed, but hey, they ended up correcting the call. And yeah, he is not, once again, as powerful as Braelon Allen, but he does bring a power component to his game. All right, so to conclude, Braelon Allen is 6'1", 231 pounds. He has a 31 BMI. He is more so the power back of this backfield. He is amazing at shedding tackles. You saw multiple times that when he was met with the defender in the backfield after just getting the ball, he was able to throw defenders off of him and get back to the line of scrimmage or even gain yardage. While Breece Hall does not have that ability so much, but he does bring a little bit of power. It's more so speed to power with him. But Breece Hall is more so the dynamic back, and that he is going to get you longer runs. We've seen him take multiple runs, 60-plus yards throughout his career, and he's a little bit better as a receiver than Braelon Allen, but Braelon Allen is no slouch in the receiving game either, and I think that they bring a lightning and thunder component to this backfield that I would liken to the Detroit Lions backfield. I think that David Montgomery, in my opinion, is a little bit better of a runner than Braelon Allen is, but Braelon Allen is also, in my opinion, more powerful. But still, they are both very, very good running backs. Please don't take that as a slight to either one of them. And then Breece Hall is better than Jahmyr Gibbs, in my opinion, but it's more so that he is more powerful. He's a bigger back, obviously. Jahmyr Gibbs is 199 pounds at 5'9". But what I'm getting at here is just like with the Lions backfield, where Dave Montgomery is the power back, where they're going to wear down defenses and then they're going to slash the defense with Jahmyr Gibbs. That is what I think the Jets are envisioning here. Whether or not they're thinking particularly about the Lions backfield, I think that's in general what we're seeing here. And what I think is going to be happening is, while Breece Hall is, in my opinion, more talented than Braelon Allen, I don't think that's controversial really. I think what we're going to start to see is we're going to see Braelon Allen brought in to wear down the defense because he is a load to tackle. Nobody's going to want to do that. But then they're going to hit you with Breece Hall. And I think we're going to see a lot of house calls from Breece Hall when the defense is tired and doesn't want to tackle anymore. And yeah, I really like what I'm seeing with this Jets offense. And yeah, it's really nice to see that with Aaron Rodgers coming back, this offense is starting to gel just a little bit more. I don't think we've seen anything close to what the heights of this offense can look like. Because while Aaron Rodgers has been a big upgrade from Zach Wilson or anyone else that played quarterback for the Jets this past season, Aaron Rodgers is still a little bit rusty. He missed Garrett Wilson just a couple times, and Garrett Wilson would have probably had a 30-point fantasy game if he would have hit him on about 2 long passes there. And so, but the point is, I really like what I'm seeing so far from this backfield. It's a nice blend of power and elusiveness. And I think we're going to see a really strong run game, and this team is not going to be a joke in December. If you thought teams didn't want to tackle Braelon Allen now, just wait till December. I predict that this is going to be a top 5 rushing offense by the time it's said and done. And with Aaron Rodgers presumably getting a little bit less rusty, no one is going to want to face the Jets in December. All right, so that is my opinion of what Breece Hall and Braelon Allen bring to the Jets running game. And I think they'll finish as a top 5 unit this season. But what do you think? Do you agree with my estimation as to how they'll perform? Do you disagree? Let me know below in the comment section and let me know why. I'm really curious what you think about that. With that being said, if you like what you've seen in terms of breaking down their profiles, their metrics, their snap shares, rush shares, and target shares, as well as breaking down their strengths on film and what they bring to the Jets running game, please like and subscribe. It's a free way to support the channel and it lets me know that you want to see more content like this. Thank you, and have a good day.